Hey, it's Dan Morales. This is Homebuyer Radio, episode 115. This week, what I want to talk about is, I get a lot of clients that ask about interest rates. What is your interest rate? It's usually, I just had in this last week, I had probably 2 or 3 different clients. The very first question they ask me is, what is your interest rate? Anybody that can answer that question without answering or without asking other questions of you, is going to give you the wrong answer, okay? There are a number of things that impact the interest rate that you're eligible for, okay? The largest contributors, if you will, are going to be credit score and down payment, okay? Those 2 things typically have the biggest impact in interest rate. Now, other things that can impact your interest rate as well, too, include the type of property that you're financing, the number of units that you have for the property, the occupancy of the property, and in some cases, even the geographic location of the property you're financing can impact that too. Now, of course, you can have differences in programs, FHA, VA versus, conventional. You can have a bunch of differences that can impact the rates and terms that you are eligible for as part of the mortgage process. So if your very first question to me is, what is your interest rate? In all honesty, I have to ask you a number of questions to begin to understand where you are at so I can give you an accurate rate quote, okay? Now, what that means is that if you are looking at an interest rate on a website, whether it's a Lending Tree or Bankrate or any of these websites where people may go to find information, if you're looking at a website where an interest rate's being quoted, those interest rates make an assumption, okay? And they make the assumption that you typically qualify for the absolute most favorable terms, okay? So it's not going to know that your credit score is 650 and you're buying a 2-unit property and it's located in Michigan and, different factors that are going to impact you. So all of those things change the FICO, or they change the interest rate you're going to get as part of this deal, right? So those things aren't built into this equation in figuring like what the interest rate is going to be for you. And it's almost next to impossible to be able to build all those things into a rate quote because in all honesty, it would be difficult, right? So what happens is if you're looking at rates online, and you're just, hey, what's your interest rate? Without giving me information, I can't tell you, right? Now, if a lender gives you an interest rate without asking these questions, I can tell you right now, the rate quote you got is no good, right? And here's the thing. It's like, those are some of the things that can impact you, right? But the other things that can impact you too is how long are you locking your interest rate for? Are you locking your interest rate for 30 days? Are you locking it for 45, 60? Are you locking it for 15? There's a number of these different things that it can also impact you as well too. Now, if a lender's not taking the time to educate you and explain these things to you, then that usually means I'm just going to answer your question, right? It's kind of like if you pulled up to the drive-through window at McDonald's and they ask, do you want to supersize it, right? Or do you want fries with that? They're not taking, those are people who are order takers that they're not taking the time to really understand where you're at, what you really need, and how best to be able to help position you to get the absolute most favorable rate, most favorable terms, and the most favorable outcome, okay? Now, one other thing I want to talk about, because, a lot of times clients get spun out on, what's your interest rate? Tell me, I need the lowest, cheapest interest rate. Well, a lot of times what people don't look at as part of that is they don't look at the closing cost, okay? Right? What is the lowest interest rate? Well, I can give you super incredibly low interest rates and charge you an incredible amount of closing cost. Okay, the problem with that is that the math may not make sense to pay all of those closing costs to get the lower interest rate, especially if you're not going to keep a property long term. In those circumstances, you could have actually done something that's actually going to hurt yourself as opposed to help you, right? So part of my job is to understand where, how long are you going to be in the property? What type of property do we have? What is your long-term goals? Are you going to prepay the loan at a faster pace? There's all of these different things that come into play. You can tell there's a train in the background here, so I apologize if you hear that. But my office is close to some train tracks. But anyways, there's all of these things that can impact the terms that you're eligible for as part of the mortgage process. So if you're somebody who's looking for a knowledgeable loan officer who knows what they're doing, they're going to give you a really competitive, mortgage option, right? They're going to help you find the right mortgage option because, oftentimes a mortgage can be done more ways than one. Then you really need to get get connected with me and my team. Okay, my name is Dan Morales. I lend in all 50 states, or substantially all 50 states. We offer pretty much, almost every product in all of those 50 states. Now, there's some states where some products aren't available, but we have a really extensive product line, and we cover pretty much all 50 states as part of the lending process. So we'd love to have the opportunity to work with you as part of this mortgage process. Okay, again, Dan Morales. I go by Dan the Mortgage Man. You can find me online at danmorales.com. That's DANMORALEZ.com. My NMLS number is 709729. Phone number is 616-931-4629. Of course, North Point Bank is an equal housing lender. And just want to remind you, you can check us out online. If you're watching, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you are listening, thank you for listening. We started this podcast as an audio podcast on iTunes. And most of our listeners are listening via the audio podcast, which is, available pretty much everywhere you can find a podcast. But we have a growing audience of folks on our Instagram TV channel. So check us out there, right? You can find me at Dan the Mortgage Man on Instagram. Love to connect with you and just kind of continue to share my journey as a mortgage loan officer and trying to help clients across this finish line with the least amount of stress and hassle. And, hopefully at the same time, adding you to our client, our family of clients that we have all throughout the country. So I just appreciate the opportunity to work with you. If you're in the market for a mortgage, love to connect with you. Again, 616-931-4629 or danmorales.com. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will catch you next week. Have a good one. Bye.